Hello to you.
Hello.
How was your holiday?
It went on very well. Family holidays is essentially a family and friends time to get together and renew contacts and so on. So it was a nice time.
Are you looking forward to the year?
This year has its own challenges. We hope to continue with our stories, more interesting and revealing stories about Kenya. So let us see. So I'll say karibuni back. This is the first story of the new year, and welcome back.
What are we talking about today?
Today, we are talking about clubs. Clubs. Starting the origin of clubs here in Kenya is very closely related to the colonial history of Kenya. And when the British came, people from different professions, and starting with the engineers of the Kenya Railways, at that time called Uganda Railway, who worked and planned, the surveyors, those who brought the railway, saw the need to make a club. And these clubs, just to mention a few before we go to details, include something like Muthaiga Club. And Muthaiga Club comprises of Muthaiga Golf Club and Muthaiga Country Club. So there are clubs for sports and clubs for the other social gathering. And third, for the higher classes of people. We can talk about Karen Country Club, and it has a section for the normal indoor clubs and socializing and other sports, outdoor sports. It's very famous for golf, and tournaments are held there. We have the what you call Kenya Open taking place in these clubs. We have in Mombasa, one of the oldest is Mombasa Club, again related to the formation of clubs during the colonial period by the settler community which was here, which was ruling at that time. And then further afield, we have Nakuru Sports Club, and up Kisumu Sports Club, we have Eldoret Sports Club, Kitale Club, and so on. Spreading in Mount Kenya area, we have Nyeri Golf Club, Thika Sports Club, we have Nanyuki Sports Club, which is also very, very vibrant. So all along Kenya, particularly where the settlement took place, you find clubs being set up to accommodate their social needs, the socializing, relaxation, and so on. So today, you find that these clubs now are no longer colonial clubs. They have membership from all sections of Kenya and when I say sectors of Kenya society, I mean professionals. They also have businessmen, people who are tradesmen and so on. People, and there is no discrimination whatsoever. Just meet the requirements of the rules. Be introduced by a member as a respectable member of society, and you'll be admitted. But I mentioned something about the colonial history. On the other side, we had clubs started earlier at the same time, about the same time, these settler clubs started by other racial groups to meet their social needs. And in particular, I'm talking about the Indian community who came here also to assist and supply the railway. And they settled along the route, in the towns along the route. We have from Mombasa, coming to Nairobi along the line or along all the way to Kisumu. And when they came over here and settled, they also set up their own social clubs. And they did not only set up social clubs, they also set up what I would call clubs for their subsection of society. In this regard, I'm referring to the Sikh Union Club, for example, the Patel Brotherhood. We have the Swamaj group. We have the Patel Brotherhood, and so forth and so on, setting up a club to suit their own particular social circumstances. And these clubs have also grown in as their population have increased, but their membership of outside racial groups has not developed as much as the settler ones. And sorry, I'm not implying any derogatory remarks by referring to the clubs as settler. They started over settler. I'm referring to them, the current country club, the Muthaiga Country Club, the Nairobi Club itself, which was actually very well associated with the engineers and the other professionals who supported the building of the railway. Now, as independence was coming close, and the African people are also getting involved in the professions and integrating in the larger society of Kenya, we saw, or some people who had foresight, saw the need to at least set up a club which could accommodate different people. And this idea came up in the early, to say, late 50s, I'm talking about 59, 50, there, to early 60s. And this is where the idea of a United Kenya Club, the United Kenya Club as you know it, near the University of Nairobi, was set up. And it was meant to accommodate different racial groups in Kenya, and in particular make room for Africans who are showing up, who are opening up, who are setting up very well and growing both professionally and in business and becoming very useful citizens of this republic. Now, what is the future of these clubs? These clubs will continue growing because they feel a very important factor in the social structure of society, in the integration of people, because people go there to relax, to exchange ideas from one profession to the other, one business line to the other, and a lot of deals are made in clubs. A lot of progress in negotiation in various fields are accomplished in clubs because people are talking at a level, there is no tension, and people are relaxed and they're able to talk to each other at a level that cannot be achieved in an office or in a formal meeting somewhere in a hotel or somewhere else. So that factor will continue to be important as we proceed. And also one other factor is that the clubs reciprocate their services to non-members of that particular club. In other words, a club in Nairobi for people living in Nairobi, living and working in Nairobi, can extend a similar service through arrangement to a visitor coming from outside Nairobi, from any other club of its rank anywhere in Kenya or even outside Kenya. They have what we call reciprocal arrangement. And you'll find that a member in a particular London club can come to Kenya and enjoy all the facilities in a club in Kenya, Nairobi or Mombasa or where, at the same level as a full member. And that is very, very important for travel, for integration, and so on. A member from Kenya going to London or somewhere else in the world will belonging to a club in Kenya, that is, will go and enjoy reciprocal facilities in another. In other words, that other club, wherever he's going, will extend a welcome like a member, full member of the other one. Even in Kenya, clubs in Nairobi extend reciprocal arrangements to to visiting members coming from Mombasa and so on, Nakuru and so on. And that facilitates the movement of people and people coming together in a familiar tone to facilitate any discussion that could be going on.
Do you think the clubs are still relevant today?
Yes, very relevant because even today, this is probably the time when clubs are more relevant than ever. As we know, there's a lot of information in the world today, and things happen. And it's very, very important for people to keep talking about these things, to pass knowledge, to exchange ideas based on what is happening in the world. The world has become very small, and clubs, as I talked about reciprocal arrangements, you find that members have arrived today from a different country and they are bringing in ideas which you probably haven't heard about or they haven't heard about from us. And therefore, this flow of information, this flow of relations, this development of contacts, useful contacts, because clubs are very useful in bringing people together in a relaxed atmosphere, informal, people being themselves in a club. You don't find somebody become a member because he's a chairman or a CEO of a corporation. They don't show this in a club. This one, they live in the office. And when they come to the club, they are themselves. They come as people, as unique. So they're able to achieve, if it's business, you find they discuss these things at a level of human level. And the openness, the feeling of equality in discussions facilitates the achievement of many things that cannot be achieved in an office or a formal meeting. So these clubs will always exist. They have a very, very vital role to play in integrating society, particularly different professions or different groups of people, because when they ever meet in the club, there is no fighting. There is cordiality, respect for each other, and people feel very, very much at home when they are in the club.
Just to go back a bit, explain to us what was the not the importance, but how exactly was the concept of these clubs, um, in the colonial times? Because it's an imported
Yes,
concept, yes.
yes.
So how were they using it in their countries, or was it purely just social, or there was an element? I think you had mentioned about something political. They used to discuss certain matters.
Let me mainly, it is started off by tradesmen getting together. You find that today we talk about trade unions, people of a certain trade. And I mentioned a very important factor in Europe, the bricklayers, what we call masons and so on. The bricklayers, most of the construction is done by bricks. So the art, the skill of bricklaying and building was very, very important. And those people who knew or were skilled and who are working in that field felt the need to get together to discuss their common problem because they found that either the conditions of work were not very good, but it was not possible for an individual to confront the employer or something like that. And they started feeling the need to come together and discuss common things, but they couldn't discuss them at workplace. So they formed a little group outside the workplace and outside the working hours to see and discuss. And when they go together to discuss their problems in the trade, they were able to come up with solutions. And as a unified group, they met and put their problems across. And their workers, their employers or those who gave them the jobs also found that it is probably easier to deal with a group. And also the investors also got themselves into not a trade, but together to discuss with the unions.
So is this what informed unions,
No,
or they were there before?
no, unions came much later when they found that workers in a certain trade in a particular area or a town had common problems with another group of workers in a different town and so forth and so on. So these local groups formed a union with others who are in the same trade. That's why the name trade unions. And this trade, or what we now call skills, were very vital in the economy of those countries. And these workers' knowledge and dedication to work was also very important in the development. So it started like that, and people getting together, and then they set up a venue. And particular, it was probably a particular pub where they met together in one section of a town. And then as they grew and the years came, they found that they are bigger and they needed to have a place specifically dedicated to their meetings. And they decided to contribute a certain amount of money. They all agreed. They set up the rules. They elected officials of the club. And they saw that as a group, they not only needed to pursue their interests in work, but there was also other social things that came up in their lives. So this is the beginning of this club.